Hey guys, so for Halloween, I had this nice, gory, gruesome, zombie-esque look. And it doesn't have to be a zombie, it could be like a car accident victim, or just a really sick person, or someone who suffered major head trauma. So if you want to see how I got this look, just keep watching. So I'm going to start by concealing my eyebrows, because zombies don't really have eyebrows, do they? Anyway, I'm going to start with a glue stick and I'm just going to pin down all my hair, just tack it down and make it nice and flat. This will just help conceal the eyebrows a little easier. And then I'm going to go in with a plain just setting powder and a cheapy kind of application sponge. You can get these at a drugstore or any grocery store. And I'm just going to tap the powder onto the glue. That way it just makes a nice smooth soft base, and just tack down any extra hairs that are flying away. Then going in with a concealer, I'm just dabbing that all over my eyebrows to help conceal them a little bit more. My eyebrows won't be completely invisible, but they will be a lot less visible. Then I'm just repeating these steps until my eyebrows are as concealed as I want. Then using some Vaseline, I'm just coating my eyelashes with this so it just protects them from getting stuck onto the Scotch tape that I'm about to stick onto my eyeballs. And because this is a gouged out eye look, I'm taping down my eye just so I don't get extra gunk stuck in my eyelashes. This is kind of a weird looking step, and I'm sorry about that. It is really bizarre and it feels really weird, but it is necessary in order to protect your eye. Then going in with a cotton ball and also some spirit gum, we are going to start making the base for the eye look. What I'm doing is I'm just placing the spirit gum wherever I'm going to apply that cotton ball and just sticking it all over the tape. And I'm tearing this cotton ball so the pieces are nice and shredded looking and not perfectly neat. And I'm just going to tack that right onto the spirit gum. I'm also going to be pressing this along the edges just so the cotton sticks down to my face a little better. So I'm just adding spirit gum around the edges and then sticking it just more to my face. Then going in with some handy dandy blood gel, I'm going to be using a Q-tip to apply gobs of this onto the cotton that is stuck upon my eye. This is just going to create a nice gory base for us to build our eye look off of. Then using some liquid latex and a Q-tip, I'm going to be placing this around the edges of the cotton ball, and I'm just going to be flattening it down against my face and just making the edges a little bit flatter, so it just makes it easier to build the rest of the makeup around. So for the next steps, I will be using a lot of spirit gum as well as scar wax. And handling scar wax can be a bit tricky, so I'm putting some Vaseline on my fingers to make sure it doesn't just stick onto my hands. And I'm also going to be putting Vaseline on the spatula I will be using to carve out that scar wax, just in the interest of having it slide on and off easily. Then I'm going to start putting spirit gum wherever I plan on laying the scar wax around my eye. Also, spirit gum works a little bit better when it is a little tacky. It just allows for the scar wax to stick on it better. And then I'm going to take a chunk of scar wax and just kind of pinch it out until it looks like nice torn flesh. And I'm going to stick it right on top of that spirit gum and just around the outer layer of that cotton ball. And I'm also going to be blending the edges of that scar wax onto my face so it helps stick down a little better and just makes it look a little more seamless. I'm also going to be placing a little bit of scar wax over the bridge of my nose just because I plan on making a few gashes around that area. Then going in with that blood gel again, I'm going to be gobbing it just kind of in the center of that eye hole, I guess, and just kind of around the edges. I will also be flipping the flaps of the surrounding scar wax out so it just looks nice and peeled back and gruesome and gross. Then using my spatula, I'm going in and just trying to flatten the cotton a little bit, just so it's not sticking out too much, just to press it down a little bit into the wax. Then using a sponge applicator and a black grease paint, I'm going to be dabbing this into the blood just to make it look a little more coagulated, a little older, and just kind of nasty and congealed. And I'm also going to be dragging this on the outer flaps of the scar wax just so it looks nice and peeled back and just kind of gross looking. I did originally start with a Q-tip, but the actual cotton on the edge of it kind of stuck to the eye, so I had to switch to these sponge applicators. Then I'm going to be going in with a Nye Burgundy Cream Color, and I'm going to be using that same sponge applicator I used with the black. And I'm just going to be blotting this on the outer edges of the flaps and then also just around the surrounding area of the hole. Then I'm going to be going in with Nye's Fresh Scab Gel, and this stuff is just really awesome. It's this deep red, just coagulating looking blood. And this is perfect for making wounds look kind of fresh, but also like they're trying to heal. So the blood just looks kind of old, but still new. It's kind of hard to explain, but it just is a really nice, gruesome touch to any kind of effects makeup. Then going in with a clean applicator sponge, I'm going to just be blotting that burgundy around the eye socket. This will just help create a nice irritated look, and it'll also just kind of give it a little more dimension, but also make the flesh just look like really irritated and bruised and just nasty. Then going in with a yellow Nye Creme Color, I'm going to be using a new sponge, and I'm also going to just blot this on top of the red, and this will just help it look more bruised and also like the wound is starting to become infected. Then to provide just a little bit more depth, I'm going in with a Q-tip and that same burgundy color, and I'm just blotting this color around the open socket just to help make it look a little bit deeper and a little more gnarled. Then to help make sure that that bruising looks like it's actually under my skin, I'm going in with the foundation, and I'm just going to be blotting that on with the same sponge we used for the bruising just to help blend everything together and look a little bit more seamless. Then I'm just going to blend the edges of the wax back into my skin a little bit. Then I'm going to go back in and just dab a little bit more of that burgundy on. Then going in with the spatula, I'm going to start creating gashes around the edges of the wax. This will make it look like my eye was actually ripped right from my face, but it'll also help disguise these seams around the wax a little bit better. And I'm also just going to be opening up these gashes just so it gives the illusion that they're actually a lot deeper than they actually are. And to add even more depth to those gashes, I'm going to be using a flat top precision brush and that same grease paint. And I'm just going to be tapping this in the center of each gash. Then I'm going to be going in with the red grease paint and that same precision brush, and I'm just going to be tapping that red right onto the black just to add a little more depth. Depth, 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 forever depth. Then going in with the blood gel, I'm just going to top each gash with that so they look nice and open and bloody and gory. And guys, don't be afraid to go heavy-handed with the blood gel and just smear it wherever the hell you feel like it. This is a gore look, so it doesn't have to be pretty and perfect. Also, I'm going in with that blood gel and I'm just blotting that again into the empty eye socket. And then once again, I'm just going to go in with a sponge and just kind of blot the extra color around just to make sure it looks even and bruised everywhere, just so it's not super bruised in one spot and not so bruised in another. Now I'm going to start working on the open neck wound. So I'm just going to go in with some tissues and liquid latex and a couple of Q-tips. The application for this part is super easy. You just blot the liquid latex wherever you want your infected area to be, and then you're going to top it off with some torn pieces of thin tissues. And you're just going to tap that right on top of the liquid latex and just blot it and blot and blot until it's reached the size you want it to be. And then we're going to top the tissues off with some more liquid latex and just kind of let it crumple as it goes. At least this is how I did it. I just tore off extra pieces and I just made it a nice kind of chunky area on my neck. Neck wounds aren't exactly pretty, so the more gnarled it looks, the better. And while that latex is drying, I'm going to work on the other side of my face. So I'm going to go in with a fluffy blending brush and some matte brown eyeshadows. You could use whatever colors you want. I'm just using some from my Coastal Scents palette. And I'm going to start deepening in the corner of my eye and just kind of dragging the brush down wherever I would naturally have bags under my eyes. This will help give the illusion that my eye is more sunken in. And for this part, make sure you're focusing on the upper outer corner of your eye and the inner lower corner of your eye. The darker these areas are, the more sunken in your eye will look. And of course, make sure you're blending everything out. And for the next step, I'm going to be creating a false bag under my eye, and how I'm doing this is dipping the tip of my brush in a darker eyeshadow and just putting that right under where my eyeball sits. And this allows that empty space with no eyeshadow to look like that is actually an extra bag just sitting right underneath my eye. Next, I'm going to be contouring my face. So I'm taking a small round tapered face brush and I'm using my Anastasia Beverly Hills contour kit. And you can use any brown shades you want. I just decided to use my contour kit because the shades work for me best. So I'm going right in under my cheekbone and just making sure it's a little bit darker, just so it looks like your cheekbones are more sunken in and that you're kind of sickly looking. And just like you would normally contour, just make sure you're blending it out nice so it's not just a sharp line. You want it to look kind of natural. And also bring that sinking in look up to your temples so it looks like your skin is actually sinking deeper into your skull. And using just a darker shade on that contour kit, I'm just going to go back in and deepen up the darkness in the contour. I'm going to be placing this just right in the center of where I previously contoured just to make it look a little bit deeper. And I'm also going to be bringing that down my jawline just so it looks like my face is actually slimmer and more skinny. Then I'm just taking the same taupe color I used the first time and just bringing that around the edges of my forehead. And what I'm doing here is just making sure that sunken in look is just carried throughout the rest of my face. And now that the latex is all dried up, we're going to start working on the neck wound. So taking some tweezers, I'm just going in and tearing open some holes just to look like a nice, gross, open flesh wound. And once I've opened a hole into the latex with my tweezers, I'm just going to start tearing open the gash just to make it the size I want. Then I'm just going to go in with the same translucent powder I used on my eyebrows and a clean application sponge, and I'm just going to blot that all over the outer parts of the latex. Just because the latex is a bit tacky, this will just help application of other products a little bit easier. Then I'm just going to go in with some foundation and a clean sponge and just blot it all over the white space of the latex so it blends more in with my flesh. The foundation doesn't have to match perfectly since we are going to make the outer area bruised anyway. Then going in with a clean sponge and that same yellow cream color, I'm going to be blotting this around the neck wound, and I'm also going to be blotting it up into the rest of my face because I want the two wounds to look like they're both kind of infected and just starting to blend into each other, like the infection is catching on throughout my face. Then just using the other side of the sponge, I'm going to go back in with that burgundy and just blot all around the wound like we did with the eye. And make sure you also blend that burgundy up into the face with the yellow as well. Then going back in with that black grease paint and the application sponge from before, I'm going to be putting that black all up in the neck wound so it has a nice dark layer for the blood to go against. This will also help make the gash look deeper than it actually is. And just going in with that same red grease paint and my fingers, I'm just going to go in and dab the red all in the wound and around the wound just to make it look nice and irritated. Then I'm just going to go back in with that sponge we used earlier and just blend all of the colors out so they kind of seamlessly go into the rest of my skin. And I'm also going to be blotting some of that red onto my nose and just the surrounding areas of the open socket. And guys, when it comes to looks like this, blending is key. So just blend, blend, blend with your fingers or your sponges, just however you do it, just make sure you blend all the colors out. Then going back in with that Nye Bloody Scab and a Q-tip, I am just applying that in and around the neck wound. Then once again, just blend that shit out some more. Once again, going back in with that red and a sponge, I am just dabbing that around the neck wound more and more. I know I keep adding colors and blending more, but honestly, the more you stack onto this, the deeper the wounds look and the more realistic they will look. Then going in with a clean sponge applicator and that burgundy again, we are just going to be deepening the outer edges of that neck wound just like we did with the eye. We're just going to make it look a little bit deeper, a little bit gorier, and just a little bit more infected. Once again, I'm using that same blood gel and just using the applicator, I'm just going to stick that right into the neck wound and just blot some around the outer edges so it looks like the blood is actually seeping out a little bit. And you can totally skip this step, but I'm just taking a sponge and I'm just going to blot the blood around just so it looks a little bit more smeary around my neck. Then going in with that first blending brush we used earlier, I'm just putting the remaining shadow and spreading it all over my lips just so they look a little bit more chapped. So my mouth looks just kind of unhealthy and just gross. And then I'm putting a lighter color on my lips just so it kind of gets rid of the natural flush to my lips. It looks a little more dead, a little more sickly. And then I'm taking a darker color, like just another brown color, and I'm squishing my lips together, and I'm just putting that right over the wrinkles of my lips. So it makes my lips look nice and dried out, and I just look really dehydrated. Then going in with a matte brown shadow, I'm just going to accentuate any kind of creases or dents in my face. This will just help my skin look a little bit sickly. I'll just look a little bit more withered and kind of just makes my skin look like it's retracting a little bit into my face, just not completely healthy, pretty dehydrated, and overall just kind of dead looking. Just to make sure this look is cohesive, I'm also bringing that shading down into my neck. So I'm just doing the same thing to my neck as I did my face and just accentuating any natural dents I have. So just kind of wherever my muscles wrap around my neck, I'm just making sure I'm deepening those dents. And that is the finished look, guys. I really hope you didn't get super bored. I know this was a long video, but I just love playing with effects makeup, and it is the perfect time of year to do so. And I hope maybe you guys picked up a few new tricks, maybe learned a few tips. I don't know. I just love playing with it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. So I really hope you guys liked this look. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And please do not be afraid to subscribe. That would be super cool. Thanks for watching. Bye!